How often do you look at your finances and wonder, why did you buy something? Why am I paying for this? You're basically living paycheck to paycheck, or at the very least, you're not saving enough money or having enough money to really enjoy life. That said, you're not alone. Chances are, at some point in time, you were influenced to make a purchase based on what I call the fear factor. I'm going to give you at least one example. If you were to go to a dealership today just to have an oil change, there's a good chance you will receive a text while sitting in the waiting room. And in that text, you will receive images of something under your hood that needs your urgent attention. Now, more than likely, that something is going to cost far more than you are willing to pay when you first walked in. It could be anywhere between $500 to over $1,000. That is what I mean when I say the fear factor, and how some entities or companies apply the fear factor. And the fear factor is very common. We all have it. We all experience it. And the market knows it. Another example, though it may not be considered fear, of how the market really appears to need us to stay in debt, is our FICO score. I paid off my home a few years ago very early, and I was very, very happy. I no longer had a house mortgage, and I no longer had a car note. You would think that would be a good thing in the market, correct? Wrong. When I received my FICO score, I had literally lost 15 points off my FICO score because I no longer had a revolving debt. Until this day, there's no way I can make up that 15 points unless I go back into debt. That sounds crazy, but it is the reality that we live. So please stay with me. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to lecture you on how to spend your money, and I certainly can't tell you how to save money because I don't know your lifestyle. But I can let you know of things to be aware of that could be costing you money that you would not normally spend. And that is very, very important because there are some things in the market that are very disturbing, in my opinion, that keeps us in debt. So I'll be right back. Hi, my name is Jerome, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to my episode and why it matters. In this particular episode, we're going to discuss fear. I touched on it just a little bit in my last episode, but I want to elaborate a lot more on it going forward. I had mentioned that in my opinion, as a marketing major and graduate of many years, that fear, in my opinion, is probably one of the most successful marketing tools throughout the history of man. In fact, it goes back into biblical times. Much of what we do, the decisions that we make, are based on fear, though in many ways we view it as being responsible, protective, or just outright the right thing to do based on our lives. And you wouldn't be wrong, because everyone has different circumstances that they have to consider. However, the market will capitalize on certain elements or aspects of our fears, and in many ways, I view that as a negative based on what that fear may be. Because much of the time, the decisions that we make is more or less about fearing a people as opposed to a fire or a flood. For instance, you're going to pay a lot more to live in a neighborhood that is viewed as one of the safer neighborhoods in a community. You're going to pay a lot more for insurance if you live in a neighborhood that is viewed as less than safe. So the market certainly capitalizes on the things that we fear. We're taught from the time that we're born what is right and what is wrong and how to be safe. And we're influenced throughout our lives. For instance, if you turn on the television and you're watching the news, you're most likely going to see things that are going to be consistent throughout your lives. And unfortunately, as a person of color, in many ways, or in many cases in America, the negative news tends to embodies a person of color doing something that is dangerous. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and according to the rankings that are often shared, Memphis is considered one of the most dangerous cities in America. However, that has not been my experience for over 30 years. Now, tomorrow that could change. But as of the last 30 years, I've viewed Memphis as being a very affordable and good place to live with many qualities that pretty much anyone can enjoy. However, many people have been given the notion that Memphis is a place that you would have to wear a bulletproof vest if you wanted to go to Walmart, and that is just not the case. So I'm here to tell you that Memphis, in my opinion, would be a great place for someone to retire in, given the fact that it is affordable and that there are many, many nice places to live. But many people throughout our country pay a lot more for a lot of things because they have been made afraid based on a people. And that is just not the reality that most of us have. I would easily say, as a recruiter and as a person who has worked with many people from all walks of life in the city of Memphis, that 90 to 95% of the people living in Memphis are law abiding, God fearing citizens. And unfortunately, the 1% or the 2% that have given into the dark side are the people that the market tends to highlight, and it helps to sell home alarms, car alarms, and so many other aspects, neighborhoods and schools in different districts. We pay a lot to be safe and never really give it a lot of thought. Still, for me, as a person of color, I find it hard to ignore the fact that there is no place that I feel that I can run to that I would feel safer without paying a heavy price. And I live in a fairly comfortable, decent neighborhood that I've lived in for close to 30 years. The bottom line is that as long as we make decisions based on fear without doing the research, and when I say doing the research, I don't mean just looking up the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city of Memphis. I mean getting to know the people in the city. Because even in the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city of Memphis, 90% of the people in that neighborhood are good law abiding citizens. I'm not saying for you to move to that neighborhood, but I do want you to be aware that a city is made up of 100% of people, not 2% of people. And 98% of those people, if they're good, the city is worth living in. Thank you.